Back to another Sophisticated Bogan. In this episode we're back on the ZX9R. So what we're going to be doing in this one, we're trying to have it as a rolling frame by the end of the episode, which for people who aren't sure, you know, that's with the wheels on, the forks on, the swing arm on, all that stuff put together. So in this one we've got to get the rear suspension put back together, we've got to get the stem head bearing done, and also got to prep the swing arm for the chain guide. I've just got to do a couple of small holes into the swing arm to be able to put the locator pins on the chain guard. And yes, I'll show you exactly what we've got going. So yeah, I'll show you what we've got going on. Rightio. Okay, so we've got the frame just sitting here just waiting. So I have to undo all this to get that out, and then I can take the bearings out. The bottom bearing is a known pain in the butt, so yeah, that might have to be grinded to get the rest of it off, but we'll see how we go. Alright, so I'll take you inside and show you what we've got on the workbench, which is the rear suspension. So I've got to prep a couple of things first. Put some felt onto my spring compressors so I don't scratch the spring, and yeah, we'll get going on that. Okay, so in here we have the rear suspension. So I've got it up to where it was originally before I took it apart, so it's at the same height. So everything's back to where it was, kind of thing. So this is the felt that I'm going to be putting onto the spring compressors, just onto these edges, you know, just so we don't scratch up the nice looking spring. So alright, we'll get cracking onto that. Alright, so I've gone ahead and have put felt up onto my spring compressors, just to make sure that, you know, as I said, trying not to scratch it before it goes back on. Wish me luck. Alright, that's coming out pretty well. Sort of how I sort of expected it to, or wanted to hope for it to go, wanted that to land on there. Cool, alright, so now we're just going to lock these in just to make sure they're tight, and that's the rear spring done. Alright, that's locked in. Done. Rear suspension job done. Alright, so we are now going to move on to the stem head bearing. Need to get this undone. Oh, plan B. Might as well look like a professional. Right, so that's the front. Looking at the bearings, they definitely needed to be done. They're pretty scuffed up. Alrighty, okay, so now that we've got the bearing out, so got these two taps that go on the other side of the bearing, which sits over the top of them. So you've got one on the top and you've got one on the bottom. So you got little grooves. I don't know how well you can see that groove there. Alright, that groove. So I come from underneath with the top one and tap it out, and you can see down at the bottom there You can see the other groove, and that's to tap out the bottom one. Alright, so let's get cracking, shall we, and get on to getting the other part off the stem head. Alright, now to try and get this off. So I'm just going to try and get the bearing off for the moment. So you can see how bad they were. Definitely needed to be changed. Pretty bad. Right, so what people are grinding off is that part of it there. That's the other end cap. So with these caps, they go inside the frame. So what I'll be doing is sticking them in the freezer so that they shrink, and then I can tap them in much easier. Yeah, so in the next bit of the video, we'll be getting this piece off. So I've managed to get pretty lucky. I've started to move this off without having to grind it off. I'm just going to keep tapping this off. Just about off. Sorry about the lights. I need to recharge these before I got. There we go. Just got to get past that spot. There we go. And it is off. That is the last of it to come off. So I've got to clean up the surface, get all the gunk and everything off of it, make sure it's all nice and fresh. And then I've still got to get some grease. I need to get grease for the bearings, because at the moment I've only got copper grease and high temperature grease, which is for the wheel bearings. So yeah, so I'll get back onto this once I have that. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. I've got to get other stuff, as I said, but yeah, these things. Very good. They'll cheap. I thought it might work. Anyway, yeah, so we'll get that, get the grease, and then we'll get everything sort of put back on again once all that's cleaned up. Also, I've got to do the swing arm, so that's the next thing I've got to do. But once the swing arm's done, once this is done, it's a matter of just putting it all together. So I'll be looking forward to that. Seeing the wheels on the frame and swing arm in, and you know, all that jazz, the forks. Alright, so we are now up to the swing arm. I've got to get grease for the stem head bearings. Okay, so finding a chain guard for this bike is near impossible, at least in decent condition. Most of them are all chewed out and etc. So this is off a newer ZX9R. I can't remember what model it's from, like what year it's from. So on these, they have like little locator pins, as you can see there. So I need to mark out where they go so that I can put pilot holes in for them, little guide holes, as well as having to do a new hole for the side fastener part and also for the top. Alright, so let's get onto that, mark everything out and see where I've got to go and where it's all got to go, etc. And yeah, alright. And these torches do not last long. Okay. That's the first guide hole. So we'll be modifying this a little bit. I'm going to trim past this down. so I can make things a bit better. So this card's coming off here. It's coming off, so I'm probably going to do a cut like that. And do the same on the other side. Alright, so I'm going to have to get up on the workbench so I can get to this. You need to use brute force. Oh. And I've lost a lot of strength over the years. Not perfect, but it should work. Okay, so it's not perfect, but it will do the job. Let's move that out of the way. Alright, so that's the chain guard on. As I said, it's not perfect, but it will work. And once everything's put together, you're not going to really be able to notice much anyway. So, you know, chain going over it, the rear tyre hugger, you know, goes over everything here, and you've got the suspension there, and yeah, so you're not going to really notice it that much. I might change the washer out and paint it, or take the washer off, take it all back off, paint the washer black, just so that it, you know, blends in, or I'll just tape around everything and just paint it while it's on there. Either way, probably do that actually, so I don't have to worry about taking it off again. Alright, so mostly the swing arm is ready to go. Yeah, just got to get grease for the triple tree, for the stem head bearings, and yeah, so I'll get onto that, and that'll probably be in the next bit. Alrighty, so I have the grease that I need for this now, so I want to get this onto here. So yeah, I'm just going to use the old one. Sorry, I'm just going to use the old one to tap it down. Yeah, so we'll get onto that, and once done that, I'll move probably onto the end caps, getting them into the frame. We're getting real close, people. Alright, so I just want to clean the surface up a bit, just to get any residual stuff left up there. Got some wax and grease remover to do that, and cloth, just to make sure everything's all clean. I might need to wire brush in these grooves, but well, actually I might do that now, just get it out of the way, and we'll get into doing this. Alright, so I've gone ahead and I've cleaned it all down, make life easier for, you know, when you're putting everything back together. So okay, let's get this on. You want to try and make sure it's as even as you can. Alright, looks like it's just about seated. Alright, so now we've got to get that back off. Alright, awesome. So yeah, you just got to want to make sure that you've got it all level. Otherwise it's going to cause havoc inside the in your stem and, you know, the bearing. It's going to make them wear unevenly. Spot on. Alright. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, we've got that all leveled out. It's all goods. Yeah, so I'm sure there's been plenty of videos out there of people doing the grease into the bearings. I'm trying to cut the video a bit short, or trying to make it shorter than some of my videos have been, so I'm just going to do that off camera. So the next bit will be pretty much assembly. So next bit you'll see everything laid out and onto a sheet. and then I'll start reassembling. Yay! Okay, so I've already gone ahead and put a little bit of grease in there. You don't want too much in there, you just want enough to be able to make it slide. Just put your end caps in and use your old end cap to tap down on the other one in. And make sure you hit it evenly around everywhere too. Alright, so that's all nicely seated in now. You've got to make sure that it's level, like hits level with every section of that, which thankfully it is. Alright, so let's get on to the bottom section. I'll tap that in, so I'm going to have to turn the frame over. Hopefully it doesn't wreck my paintwork. Alright, should have done this before I painted it. Now again, put a little bit of grease in there just to help it along. So same process as before. You can hear the sound change. You sort of know that you're up against solidity. Which is all good. That is the bottom one in. So now everything can go back together. Well, yeah, the triple tree can go back in. Alright, so I'll go grab that and get it prepped, grease up the other bearing, and we'll get them in. Right, you don't want to do this up too tight either, otherwise you'll have too restricted movement. So you just do it up so that, you know, like, because they're tapered, as it pushes them together, it's going to really tighten everything up. So yeah, you just do it up, obviously tighter than by hand, but yeah, you need to make sure that you don't have any upward and down movement. It's just got a little bit, so it does need to be tightened up a little bit, and side to side is free moving. So that is good. I will be repainting this as well because it's got a bit taken out from stuff that I should have done before I painted things. Anyway, that's all goods now. So the top plate can go back on. Yeah, okay. I'm stoked that's done. So it's all new now. New bearings. Oh man, that's so smooth compared to what it was before. Before it was just, you know, you'd be like, you had to try and move it. Now, awesome. Alright, so at least that problem is now fixed. So yeah, next we'll move on to getting everything together on the sheet so that I can then methodically work through it all and put it all together. Alright, so that'll be the next bit of the video. Assembly. Alright, so now we're on to the next bit. We're up to getting everything together. So I still have to clean them up a bit before I start reassembling. So I just need to get everything cleaned. But everything is virtually ready to go. There's all my nuts and bolts and hubs and everything that I cleaned out and refreshed and restored. So yeah, can't wait, get everything together. Woohoo! Alright, so we're going to start with the swing arm. Yeah, I don't know why, but probably because it's a milestone moment. But I'm nervous for some reason. Yeah, this is not my first rodeo, and for some reason I'm nervous. Anyway, so let's get the swing arm on, and then we can get the top plate on, and then the forks in. We're getting there. Woohoo! Alright. Yeah, so I've had all this stuff soaking in WD-40, all the nuts and bolts, just to make sure they don't rust and keep them all good. So just wipe them all down. Swing arm is on. Okay. So I'm just leaving this loose for the moment so that There's the rear suspension done. Alright, so I'm leaving that loose for the moment. So I get the forks on. But she's looking all pretty good. With that nice fat 190 on the back of it. Brand new Bridgestone S22s. They don't make them anymore. They're onto S23s now, which would be when I get another R1, that's what I'll be putting on that. I really like the tyre, I've used them for years. Starting to finally turn it back into a bike. You've got to have these exact. Otherwise the geometry's going to be off. Alright, spot on. So we'll be changing all these bolts. These are just temporarily going to be in here.
You do get down on the floor, shake your body so nice. Everybody just get down in the place to be. Forget your cares.
All right, so there we are. We have a rolling frame and a mow. So, Paul for the cat, he helps me along the way. I guess he gave me some moral support. So, all looking pretty sweet. Moving right nicely. Everything's all tightened up. As I said, I'll be replacing these bolts and I'll be painting these bolts to match. I'm just going to mask up around everything and just do it that way. It does need to be cleaned. I've got to buy some bolts for the tray because I can't find them. So the joys of doing a restoration with other outside things getting in the way as well, and you know, time as well. I can't do everything all the time. Alright everyone, that's it for this video. As I said, we now have a rolling frame. It's quite a milestone to be up to this point. It's starting to look like a bike again. So, okay, in the next video, we're going to paint the engine and get it installed, as well as getting up the little bits and pieces. Like I've still got to do some wiring, make some plugs, blah blah blah. But otherwise, we are on the move, we're moving forward. So yeah, in the next video for the bike will be, as I said, the engine being painted and installed. Other little bits and pieces I'll try and get done in that video as well. But my next video will be at Accelerate March car meet. So we'll be doing another car meet and then we'll be back onto this hopefully next week. If not next week, then unfortunately the week after. Depends when I can get stuff. Alright, cool. I'll leave it there and I'll see you guys next one. Oh, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. As I said, I want to make something of this channel, as I say all the time. The only way to do that is for you guys to do all that kind of stuff. So, you know, if you're watching the video, if you enjoy what I'm doing, it's not that hard. Just you know, look down a little bit, you can see the little subscribe thing there, and a little like button, put a comment. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.